You gave my life to me, set me free, set me free. The finest years I ever
The
lived.
saying is the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church.
Yeah.
What happens is this thing starts amping up and multiplying. And now you're not just killing Jesus, you're killing a bunch of people. And then in an odd way, that Jesus' own words that a seed must die before it reproduces multiple seeds. This battle between light and dark, life and death, is in its full amplification when people who have died are raised from the dead, and then they're here as these tokens or these oddities of living people in a dead world.
So don't you think that back to, just the significance of resurrection, that it actually empowers? I mean, like I just would love to know like how many of the martyrs were able to like step into, because it seems like most of the time there's a way out when you're martyred. Not always. I'm not saying not always, but it seems like especially, like with being martyred for your faith, there's usually a chance given to recant, right? And or
Or at least to
historically.
go run and hide, if nothing else.
Yeah, and I just have to imagine one that this issue of resurrection, that the spirit brings that large and in full focus,
Mm-hmm.
in those lead up moments to that for the individual, I hope. And that the spirit of God is really like big in those
Mm-hmm.
places.
You think you'd have to be, so we're not, because there's some incredible stories of people about to be martyred, and their peaceful and courageous statements to those getting ready to kill him.
In the instance of Jesus, he seems to see past it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to lay it down because I can pick it back up again. I love that.
Well, the promise for this whole thing, and this, if you look at the kingdom of God or Christianity detail, is zoom all the way back. The big picture promise, and this is the crux of it, is that Jesus is the first fruits and we follow. And so all of us who follow Jesus follow him into his death and follow him into his resurrection. And Paul, in response to people saying, I don't think this actually happened, nobody actually raised, he starts with, and this is all in 1 Corinthians 15, starts with Jesus actually rose. Otherwise, we're nuts. Otherwise, we have no hope. And then he gets into a lot of detail about what it will be like.
Yeah.
Where he's got this information, we don't really know. Maybe he's gotten it directly from Jesus in some of the visions or trances that he's had. But he gets into describing the resurrected body,
Yeah.
and this weird dichotomy that it's actually it's a spirit, it's a spiritual body, not a physical body. But like a full-grown plant is different to a little seed. That's his analogy. But Paul apparently believes in it enough and has thought about it enough to where he spends I think it's the longest chapter in First Corinthians. Of course, he didn't do the chapter delineation. The longest subject he spends the most time on. And so this is our reality, and yet we can hardly believe it. It probably never actually happens. We haven't seen it. Have you ever prayed for somebody who?
I have not. Yeah. I don't think I've had I don't, just trying to remember. I don't think I've been with people post-mortem like that first, like, couple months of us being lead pastors. Yeah, that's a story sometime. But they were old, like they were
Yeah,
at the end of their days, and it didn't feel like, praying to wake them up. And I think everybody I've been with physically in the room that's been the scenario, where it wasn't a child, it wasn't somebody that was
yeah, where it would make
sort of
sense
their
for
days were
them.
cut short. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, who knows what's going to happen these days
Yeah.
as things
Yeah.
amp up.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the artwork that you chose for this week. You chose an etching by Rembrandt in 1642. Well, what's an etching, first of all, versus a painting?
Yeah. So I just anticipated you might ask this. So I Googled more this morning. So it was basically an early screen printing process. So the end goal wasn't just to create the etching, although the etchings remain. It seems that it was a way to reproduce their art. So they would do the original on a metal background, copper, zinc being the most popular as the technique sort of evolved. And they would put a film over it made of beeswax and some other medium that I don't remember. And then they would etch into that, not only that surface film, but through the surface film into the copper or the zinc beneath it. And I would imagine the surface film gives an easier surface to leave an imprint so you see what you're doing, you know? And then they acid bath basically, or acid wash that, and the metal beneath it gets further eroded from the acid. And then they have this screen print, basically, like the master, basically, that they could put ink over. And you watched a video that you can talk about that showed that process, but it was a way to reproduce art and sell art other than just the original in the 17th century, you know, before printing techniques were
Yeah.
developed.
And so artists need to make a living. And
Yeah.
if you're good at creating art, if you do an etching, then you can sell it multiple times instead of just one painting. Because this etching, we also see a couple of paintings of this.
Yeah.
One of them from inside the tomb, like this etching is, the other one from outside of the tomb.
Yeah.
But he has, it's pretty much the same. It's like the same scene, same characters from two different angles.
It grabbed me because it was different. And I think the theme of light and dark is super present, right? Like you have this ray of light coming into this dark space.
So there's a ton of light, and there's some guy with a hat.
Yeah, it's whoa. Yeah, the faces are fun. Lazarus looks one of the descriptions I read says that Lazarus looks shocked. To me, Lazarus looks shocked and a little zombie-like, if I'm being honest. Like, I don't know that I agree with Rembrandt's depiction of Lazarus's face.
Well, yeah, to me, he looks like an old guy.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not dead yet.
Yeah,
I think I feel better.
Just to have you back again, just to touch you once again.